Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited because I'm not alone. I have my two friends here with me. I'm here on this podcast today with Sara Drury and Heather Doran. Doran, sorry, I always say Doran. It's like Duran. Sorry, Doran. She's my good friend that I can't pronounce her name.
It's okay. My mother-in-law will just yell at you. She's the one that said it's like that. So
Please don't tell on me. Both of them have been podcast guests before when I first launched the podcast. So you'll have to go back into the archives, but they exist and they're killer episodes. Heather talked about money blocks, and financial stories and our relationships with money. And Sara and I were talking about coming out of our woo-woo closet and really just owning our stuff. It was really special. Both of the episodes were really special. So I would definitely recommend listening. But today we're going to be talking about creating offers. This has been coming up. Oh, and also, by the way, the reason why they're here, I'm just going to dive right in. So enough of this chit chat. In case you haven't noticed, I despise small talk. I just like to get into the meat. Like, tell me about your childhood trauma and let's just like get real with each other. Let's be really vulnerable. So the reason why they're here, both Sara and Heather are coaches in the Align and Activate Mastermind. They've been with me since its inception in January in 2020. We are currently in our second round of the mastermind. The first round, we had 6 ladies. We have now 15 in this round. And then when we reopen it for the January session, we are expecting to have 30. Plus, we have an exciting announcement. We haven't said this anywhere else publicly, is that we have a new coach for the mastermind, which is Andrea Michelle. She's a dear friend of mine, and Yay. Same with Heather and Sara. We love her. She's freaking awesome. She actually taught a masterclass for the mastermind, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's gotta be here permanently. So I'm really excited. We'll have 3 coaches, which means that we'll have 1 coach for every 10 people. So you still get that super up close and personal touch. Anywho, so we are all coaches in the mastermind. Heather is our resident financial abundance guru specialist because she deals with money all the time, and she's helping to evolve the relationship with the ladies in the mastermind, and how they can make more money, how they can improve their conversations about money, how they can see more money coming in and feeling really good about it. And Sara is our resident NLP, hypnosis person, mindset. And so we each have our own flavor, and also witchy stuff. Let me just also throw that in, because we were just
Let's just go ahead and throw that right in the mix.
Yeah, because we were talking right about witchy stuff, and I was like, I can't say your name and not talk about witchy stuff. We're just talking about books that she's recommended. I'm like, oh, give me another one. She's going to send me her whole list. Anywho, so the point of this episode is really to give you an idea of who we are, how we kind of, work together. We are also going to be doing a series of live Zoom group coaching calls on my Facebook page. So make sure that you check out the links below. We'll probably have links by the time the episode airs to register, to submit a question, and to join us. So you'll definitely want to get in on that. They're super valuable and really fun. So we're going to talk about offers. So just before we met up today, Sara did her office hours with the mastermind ladies, and I'll let you talk about, what the call content was about. And that's also what's inspired today's podcast episode.
Yeah. So on another one of our coaching calls, we were chatting with all the ladies, and a few of them didn't quite have offers complete yet that they could put out. And, part of this mastermind is really going to the next level in your business and really creating more money, creating more income, all of those things. And if we don't have offers that we are offering our audience, how are we going to have that exchange of energy? And so we wanted to get really clear in one of the calls on what is your offer, right? We love the woo stuff, and most of what we talk about is very woo, but then we have to bring it down to practicality as well. And so in this call, we were just outlining some of what that is. And it sort of came to our attention that there are really just a few, like we've kind of outlined 7 for this.
Yeah.
But there's just a few things that essentially hold people back from really creating those offers and then powerfully putting them out.
Awesome. And I think the part of the conversation was triggered by Heather's call the previous week, because we were talking about money, right? And she even gave like a trigger warning that like before her call, she's like, guess what we're going to go into tomorrow?
Oh yeah. And really the conversation started with, what is your relationship with your money? So we have relationships with our clients, we have relationships with our family, but what is your actual relationship with your money, and how are you treating it every day? Are you ignoring it? Are you paying attention to it? Like what's happening? So yeah, that really got it going.
Huge, big conversation, not just talking about money blocks, money stories, limitations, what's been passed down from generation, and even the relationships that people are in close connection with, and how those beliefs have also come in and maybe sometimes infiltrated, that person's thoughts about money in their relationship, what they think is okay to think about money.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. All the things past related, and really just past your family. Cause you think like, even we talk about the whole, subconscious. So, from like 0 to 8, you're having all of these thoughts and all of these things coming in. So money is a huge part of how we do things in life. So then our family is obviously feeding different things into our subconscious, and then we grow up and we start handling money and we wonder like, where is this coming from? It's under the surface in that subconscious part of the brain.
Yes. So we're going to go into 7 ways that you might be stopping yourself, blocking yourself from creating a powerful offer. Number 1, you might not have an offer due to fear. And I know this is like so obvious, right? Like everybody's like, of course I have fear. There's so many things to be fearful of. And as entrepreneurs, there's a gazillion things to be fearful for. Honestly, at every turn, no matter how new or how experienced you are in your business, there's fears that come up. So what are some ways that you guys handle when fear comes up? What do you guys do?
I'll speak first because I have a really simple thing that I do. And that is, you ready for this? Everybody get your pen ready.
I got it literally. I'm like, here we go. It's going to be so good. Go.
I do it anyway.
It's brilliant.
I mean, really, it really is just that simple. Is like, yes, we have fears around stuff, no matter how experienced you are or what you've already done in your life. If you're continuing to grow, if you're continuing to up level, if you're continuing to put out, offers in other capacities, there's always going to be fear coming along for the ride. And it's really just about, am I going to let this fear continue to hold me back? Am I going to let this fear make me not do the things that I know I'm meant to do? So that's my big thing. Just do it anyway.
Love that. What about you, Heather?
Well, yeah, I mean, Sara said it beautifully. Just do it anyway. The other thing I do is talk to it, or talk to that part of the subconscious or the conscious, whichever, and just, like, why is this coming up? Like, what, why are you afraid? Like, are you afraid because somebody's going to jump out of the computer screen and yell at you? Or you afraid that, people are going to judge you? Okay, what people are judging you? All of the questions, like, I just kind of go down the rabbit hole of, why is this coming up? Where is this coming from? And then at the end of the day, it's like, oh, well, the worst that can happen is like somebody sends me a message and they're like, oh, that's horrible. And it's like, is that really that bad? Did I die from it? No.
I say that all the time. My business, like, is anyone going to die? No, no one's going to die.
Exactly. And I think probably all of us here have had that happen.
Yep.
Have been sent a message where somebody didn't like what we were doing or didn't agree with us. And it's like, okay, thank you. Bye.
And I think that also makes right. Exactly. Like, exactly. Bless and release. That's the thing, is like, usually the people who we are the most fearful of doing those things don't ever do it. they just don't follow you. And I think I will say this is like in the age that everybody's on the internet and wanting to like shout from their soapbox loudly, it's a possibility that they might do that. And the good news is that I have also had people make threats that they're going to go on their social media and like rip me apart. I'm like, okay, so your 300 friends are going to see you getting mad at me. But like based on the algorithms, they probably won't even see your post. That's fine. Whatever. I will add to this. So Sara said, do it anyway. Heather said, follow the fear, which I love to get curious with fear because you always end up being like, oh, that's silly. I'm just going to do it. I will add this is that the fear shows up as proof that you're growing. It's evidence that you are expanding, because if you were doing the same things and doing the same habits and not changing anything, you wouldn't have any fears because there's no reason to. You're just in the safety zone. So it's evidence that you're doing awesome. High
Exactly.
five.
It just means you're on the right track. You're onto something.
Right. Number two reason why it might be held back from making a great offer is judgment. I mean, we kind of touched on that with the fear, but I mean, we are all human, so we all naturally want to fit in. We have that reptilian brain that's saying you better survive, and part of survival is sticking in. But unfortunately, for those of us who are here wanting to make an impact, we are sort of chosen this life path to lead, and that means standing out and not fitting in sometimes. So how can you think back to a time where you were judged or coaching somebody else through being judged that could help them put an offer out even in spite of that fear of being judged?
So I don't mean to keep jumping
I
in,
didn't want
Heather.
to talk over you.
No, exactly. You just jump in. But for me, so it's interesting because when we talk about fear, it's like that shows up in so many different ways. And sometimes we don't even recognize that it is coming up as this thing. And so judgment is a specific way that, like, fear of judgment, that we can sabotage ourselves. And I can absolutely think of, for myself, I'll just talk about myself, is like, I used to be absolutely paralyzed by fear of judgment. And the first time I ever went live, I love to tell this story because the first time I ever went live, so you now know my motto, like, just do it anyway. And so I just have a history of doing that, just like doing it anyway. But the first time I ever went live, I literally just counted down like the 3, 2, 1, Mel Robbins saying 3, 2, 1, go live. I had notes, I had everything planned out. And yet, so I go live and somebody pops on, like the little, like on Facebook, you can see the little icon that's like, somebody is watching you live. And I just, like, the fear of what that person was thinking of me. First of all, I didn't know who it was. So that was even more like freaking me out. I just went blank. I completely went blank. I completely just like was stumbling over my words, didn't know what to say. Ended the live early and then cried for like 15 minutes. And I was just so in this fear of what is somebody going to think of me? And again, just noticing that I did it and kind of coming back to realizing, and like Heather was saying, following it and recognizing that it was because I was afraid of what somebody might think. And then realizing also that I didn't die. It really did. It was able to like release some pressure for myself of saying like, okay, you know what? You didn't do it perfectly. You probably were judged. That person was like, what is she doing? And you're still fine. You're still okay.
What about you, Heather?
So this is interesting that this is coming up, and I shared it in our mastermind group, but I actually had a conversation with my grandma this week. My grandma's 81 years old, and you know, we were talking about just different things with psychic stuff, and you know, the growth of how the witch has come about and all that thing. And I shared with her kind of some of the work that I'm doing with women, and just some of the, you know, quote unquote psychic stuff that we do. And I was sharing with her, and she actually started to tell me about some of her experiences from childhood and even today, of dreams that she's been having, just different things. And so it was so powerful to be able to have that conversation with my grandma about this, you know, this psychic work that we do, this intuitive work that we do, and to be able to tell her that at 81 years old, it is safe for you to be that. And so had I like been held back by judgment of like, oh, my family, you know, and what are they going to think? What are they going to say? I wouldn't have been able to have that impact with her. And I was able to help her like interpret her dreams. And she just like thanked me like several times that like, oh, I'm so glad I got to have this conversation with you. So the backstory to this is that when we let fear hold us back, we aren't giving the impact, and we aren't able to, you know, have that help other people have that impact with us. So that was my recent story that has come up around.
I love that. I love that so much.
It takes everything in me not to like explode in like giggles and tears at that story. It's so amazing. I mean, 81 years old, that she's like talking to you about dream interpretation and psychics. Like, that's
completely taboo. My grandma actually, well, her mom, my great grandma, she read tea leaves, and she was extreme. She just had so many visions. And as a child, I was like, wow. And I was like, what do you see? And she's like, yeah, right there, I see that. And I'm like, what? I don't. And people did, they called her a witch. And so that had an impact on my grandma, I'm sure, and her stuff. And she's always had these visions and stuff, and she's mentioned them throughout the years. But to be able to have, like, for her to have somebody else to talk to about that, I think was like, oh my gosh, wow, I'm different, and that's okay.
Yes.
And, you brought up Emily, the point of how when we are in that fear of judgment, sometimes it is an actual like physical response. And I think this was what was happening with me as well. But to bring it back to connect to what Heather was saying, is it's like, we have this in our history as women. We have it in our history that, there was a time where powerful women, witchy women, were literally burned at the stake. And so it is in our ancestry that it feels more comfortable for us to stay unseen, because we have, whether we recognize it or not, like she was saying also about the subconscious, it's in our subconscious, it's in our superconscious, it's in our ancestry, that it is more safe for us to hide. We could be burned at the stake if we speak up, if we share our magical truth or any truth, right? It is a fundamental part of us that it's more comfortable to stay unseen. And so a question I always like to ask, especially in coaching, and this is for people to ask themselves as well, is, first of all, we are so blessed to be living in a time where we aren't going to be burned at the stake. Somebody may come after us and say, I don't like what you're saying, but it is highly unlikely that any of us will ever be physically burned for speaking up. Yeah. And so a question I like to ask is, which one is more important? Is it more important for me to stay unseen and stay in this safe bubble? Or is it more important for me to share this truth and have those beautiful experiences like you had with your grandma, with our family or with our clients? Which one is going to be more important? And you have to, at some point, just make that choice.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I wrote that down. It's safe to stay unseen. And I had previously written down, that is an active feeling of being selfish when you put your own feelings ahead of helping somebody else. And I know none of us would actively say, oh, I would rather just take care of my own needs and not help anybody. It's that subconscious thought of, I am worried about people judging me. It's like, that is completely selfish. That's literally, you're only thinking about yourself. And that's why it's easy for all of us and how we lead to show up, imperfect, without makeup, without a script, without perfect sound, and with interruptions and whatever shows up at our doorstep, because we are solely here to be of service, however that looks, sounds, and feels. And we all trust, we use our intuition, we all trust that the words are going to be received. But back to what you said, Sara, about ancestry in our DNA, it's in our DNA. It may also, we talk about past lives on this podcast. You guys are not totally new to this, but also there are some really amazing resources and books that one of the books we were talking about before this was the patriarchy stress disorder. And in that book, there is studies done on lab rats that have gone through traumatic experience when they received a stimulus. And what they showed is that not just the children, not just the grandchildren, but the great-grandchildren of those rats that had that first stimulus of trauma had that reaction to the stimulus without ever experiencing that.
That was the most fascinating story when I read that. I was just like, are you kidding me? This is literal scientific proof to back up the things that we've been saying forever. Like, it is science now.
Right.
You
I
have
got
these
full
things
body
trapped in your
chills.
DNA.
I actually didn't. I haven't read the book yet, so I didn't know that. And as you were saying that, I got full body chills.
Right? It's like in our soul, like, I freaking knew it. I knew it. Yeah, I knew it. I called it. Right? It's like we couldn't put words to it. And because we talk so esoterically and because we talk energetically, we talk about past lives, it's like, it's not tangible. But when there's science, and I get totally geeked out, and I know you guys do too. I totally geek out about the sciencey books and the mind and the brain and the studies, because it's like, I told you so. It's freaking right here.
Exactly. Science is now explaining what ancient wisdom has been saying for
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years. Yes.
And I will also say, because I love that you both shared a personal story, and I have a personal story that I would like to share about being directly judged. And it happened literally yesterday. And it was by I haven't even told you guys. So this is like,
I'm leaning in.
I'm not going to say who it is, but somebody who is a very close relative of mine. We got on the phone to talk about Thanksgiving, of all things, because it's up right around the corner. And it turned into him suggesting that I quit my job to become a stay-at-home mother, and that everything I do is bullshit, and that I'm swindling people, and that what I do is unethical, and that I'm taking advantage of poor people. These were literal words that were used. And I was like, that's really interesting. That's a really interesting, like, and this is the funny part. So like, because Heather and Sarah have known me for years, we've done so much work, so much trauma, so much inner child work, so much looking at these beliefs and these judgments that we have ourselves, the fears that we have that other people are going to have. And then here it is, like smack dab as close as possible. And even though it's like disappointing to hear these words coming from somebody who's supposed to love me, it didn't hurt. And so I want to just kind of share this, and I'm going to share with our mastermind too. It's like, it didn't hurt because I don't believe those thoughts. And so it's like, if somebody was like, you are so tall, Emily, it's disgusting. I'm 5'2". It's not going to offend me and make me feel bad about myself, because I don't believe that story. You know, it felt the same way. And so I came to the conversation not in shock, because I think most people, when they would have that kind of confrontation by somebody close with them, would be like just utterly frozen and in shock. And I think this is where years of coaching and therapy has really shown up, is like, I could listen and go, okay, tell me more about that. What do you think is unethical? What do you think? I mean, tell me more. And just go, okay, great. So thanks for the feedback. Now I know how you truly feel. So that's actually really helpful for me to let you know that I have no space for people in my life who are not loving and who are so negatively judgmental of me. And I'm not interested in having this conversation again. I'm not really interested in having you in my world. But thank you. I got to go homeschool my kindergartner now, please.
Wow. See, that is such a powerful response. And that does, it shows how when you do this work, it actually does work. Because that's a really powerful response that you had to that, where I would be like, can I punch you in the face now? I'm kidding. But, it's like, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll see you later.
Yeah. And I said, that says a lot about you. Thank you. That says a lot about you. And and feel free, like, if anybody is having stuff with their close relatives, like, feel free to listen to this again and kind of replay. Like, we don't live in these like perfect worlds, but what the three of us really do extraordinarily well is look inside of ourselves, look at the flaws, look at the insecurities, look where we're being triggered, look at all this stuff, because everything that we're going to mention, we are all personally experienced with, not just coaching people how they go through it, but personally it affects us as well. So that was my podcast personal story. So number 3, thank you. Maybe I should have ended it on that. Anyway, so number 3 is the fear of somebody saying no. Oh my gosh, like putting an offer out there. So we don't put an offer out there because what if somebody says no, or they say like, I don't have the money, or like, why are you even putting that out there? So I like to get no's personally because it helps me understand what the no means. Is it a no, hard stop, I hate you, get out of my life, Emily? Or is it a no, not now? Or is it a no, maybe I would like something actually more whatever, or no, I'd like something a little bit less whatever. I like to get curious. So, but that's taken years to cultivate. So I will say that. So for people starting out, and I'll hand the mic to Sara, I'll pass it. Because you had the call today. What was the reaction when people were afraid of getting the no's?
So nobody on the call specifically today was actually coming out saying that that was their specific thing, which is awesome. And so I think that they've done, work around this. It was more some of the other things that we're going to talk about a little bit later. So I won't, no spoiler alerts yet. But this is just such a big one for people. First of all, I think the people that are in the mastermind may be a little bit further along, which is why they've probably had some kind of offers out before. But this is still, even if it's a new offer, sometimes it's this thing that pops up. And so what I will say about it is that, like you said, I like to get a no as well, for a couple of reasons. One, like you said, you're collecting data every time you put something out. You're just collecting information and feedback and data so that you can know what to do in the future or tweak or change. So I feel like so many people think a no is so final, and they feel like it's about them. They feel rejected, personally rejected. And I totally get that. One of the things that, if I can just share really quickly, that really changed how I was viewing the no, I watched an interview with Marie Forleo, and she had Bryce Dallas Howard on, who is an actress.
Okay.
And she talked about how she would go on what do they call auditions? What do they call those things? I'm not an actress. Okay. And it took like 50. You had to go on 50 before you would get any yeses. And she realized that, okay, so I have to do 50 or 100 or whatever it was in order to get a yes. So the idea is, again, if you can kind of take yourself out of it and just say, I'm collecting this data, I'm collecting this information, so I'm just going to put the things that feel right to me out, and then collect back the data and take myself out of it a little bit and say, okay, if I get to putting out 10 offers and still nobody is saying no, then I can look at this and say, maybe something's really off here.
Yes.
Instead of making it about you, though, and like, what's wrong with me? And hey, I've been there. Oh my gosh, I've put out things that people said no to and then went to bed for a week. So like, no judgment. But then when I realized, oh, it's actually not about me. It's actually maybe the offer just was off, or maybe, whatever, like you were saying, like, I'm collecting this information. And so just making it not about you, taking yourself out of it a little bit.
Well, the one thing I was going to add about this is the reason why we're talking about like why we don't make offers is because we're afraid of the no. And so one thing that I always remind everybody is that you have the option to change your mind at any point. So putting an offer out is not this, you make a decision, you make the best decision you can at the time, and then you get to change your mind. This is the beauty of being an entrepreneur, of working for yourself, for doing this work. So that's the one thing that I'll say about that is you get to change your mind.
And that to say that too is I've had people flat out be like, you know what, I desperately want this, but I can't afford it. I can't do it. I'm like, okay, like I totally get it. I respect your decision, and it's not going anywhere. It can be back next time. And because of that attitude of not taking it personally, to what you said, and then the miracles that happen when they actually do align themselves with that offer is we've all three seen miracles happen for people who got to get into the mastermind, who were previously like, it's no, I literally have no money. And then suddenly an email from their old 401k that has got to be moved, and it's got exactly the right amount of money that's going to pay for this and then some, or a miracle from a family member who's like, you know what, I want to pay for it, or a miracle from, like, it's crazy when we open up to that possibility. So a no can be a no right now, and absolutely no, I have no money. And then all of a sudden, like, wait, is that spot still open? Because I would like it to be mine. Yes, thank you. So there's so many options. And I think with no's, what you're hearing in all of us is that it's just information.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And you can choose to, have the week off and like bury your head and, lick your wounds. And you can also just be curious, like, oh, tell me more about that. Like, why didn't you buy? Why was it, what was off about it? What didn't feel, and you can tweak. Like somebody's like, well, I wanted it to be more spiritual. I'll use myself for example. I really wanted to be more spiritual. And I'm like, it's super spiritual. Why wouldn't you think it's spiritual? Oh, well, it didn't say spiritual on the last button. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, because it is like, if I add it on there, it's it. I mean, would you like to see some testimonials that it's a spiritual thing? And it's like, oh, it's like, it can be so obvious that we just don't see, like, oh, they just needed to see it a few more times. Or, I didn't know where the deliverables were. Like, oh, well, we can make a comparison chart. We could show you like it can be so simple, but those feedback, that information gives you the opportunity to then improve your sales process as well. And I'm going to keep going because we want to get through as many as we can in as short amount of time as possible. So number 4 is the excuses or the comparison to others / imposter syndrome. So I have said this on, I don't even know how many episodes of this podcast, but when I was first starting out with really getting deeper into my meditation process, I had already been doing energy healing for so long, but I really wanted to start incorporating more meditation. And I was just like, how could I possibly do meditation when there's Deepak Chopra and Gabby Bernstein in the world? Like, there's just no room for me. Absolutely not. And I always use those people as like comparison because they had these massive Goliath followings. They were New York Times bestsellers times a gajillion. And I just was nobody. And so and at this point in my business, I know that there are people who look at me, who look at the two of you in that similar light. They go like, well, she was already doing it, so I probably shouldn't even bother trying. And I think, simply put, I'm going to go first. I think simply put, you are doing a disservice to the world, because in my opinion, I believe there are people in the world that are suffering in silence. They don't even have the words to articulate that they need help with something, or that they're suffering, they need an answer and a solution, but they are suffering. And the only solution is that energy that comes from you specifically. Even if me and Sara and Heather were literally selling the same exact thing, they absolutely need it only from Sara. There's something about Sara, her energy, her voice, the way she carries it, they just resonate with her. Even though we're selling the exact same thing, it's because it needs to come from her. And so for me, I know that there's somebody out there suffering in silence. Oh my gosh, that rips me apart. I can't keep it in. I have to get it out. It's got to be about them, about helping them. So that helps me get over myself and not thinking that I'm good enough and there's other people doing it better.
And yes, and to elaborate on that, I would even say there's no way someone could sell the exact same thing as you because of exactly what you're saying, that you're doing it in your unique way. I'm doing it in my unique way. This is why it never works to just rip somebody off, because somebody who's like doing it really well and you just take everything that they're doing and you do it, and then all of a sudden, like maybe theirs wasn't as successful as this person, it's because they're not bringing their unique energy to it. So there's no way to sell the exact same thing. Whoever's listening to this, you cannot sell the same thing as me because I have a unique way that I do it. I have the unique experience of my life. Same thing with Emily. Even if our offers were similar, they couldn't be the same thing because Emily has had her own unique experience of life and the unique thing that she is here to offer. And exactly what she's saying is so we don't recognize, because just like with the first one we were talking about, we don't recognize that we're being selfish. But once you do sort of kind of change the lens of that and say, no, okay, actually, I am being extremely selfish by not putting my things out there, by comparing myself to other people. There is no comparison because nobody is you. Nobody is you, and nobody could ever be you. And so therefore, and this is what changed for me, I have a responsibility, a moral obligation to help people if I can help people with the unique gifts that I have. And so do you, the listener. You have a responsibility, if you have ways that you can help people, to get out of your head, get out of comparison, just put some blinders on if you have to, and just step into what it is that you are meant to do. Period. Passing the mic to Heather.
Sorry, you're gonna have to pick it up off the ground because she just dropped it.
I know, right? I mean, the thing that I'll add to that is really that, the whole like it's you thing, but really just thinking about, yes, like Emily was saying, there's Gabby Bernstein and then there's me. But here's the thing, I might not resonate as well with her. I actually resonate well with Emily because she's got kids and her dogs, come up and lick her face while she's trying to do live. And I think that's really awesome that, her dogs and her kids are with her and, whatever. So it's like every situation is different. So really, take that big thing that you have in your head and really realize that, there might be something about you that really helps to communicate that they actually hear it that time from you, because there's many, many things that I've heard. And then there's things that, I might say, or somebody might say, and I'll be like, oh my God, I finally get it. So even though you feel like you're saying the same thing, it's being interpreted by everybody differently. So you don't know that when you say that same thing, the person that needs to hear it is actually hearing it that millionth time from you.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it also points out how self-critical we are, because I used to think that, like, we'll stick to the Gabby Bernstein thing. So I used to think like my voice was so terrible and like it was just not cool. Like, who in the world would want to listen to my voice? And I made a few meditations a few years ago and I was like begging my friends to listen, like, is it any good? Can you? And fast forward 3 or 4 years, it's become this meditation membership that people are like, I love your voice, your energy. I've never meditated with anybody like I do with you. There's something that changes. Like, I'm having deep, like, spiritual experiences. I'm healing these old wounds. Like, I was, like, all this crazy stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it's incredible how life-changing this work is. And think about all those thousands of people who would have never received that work had I just stuck to the story. There's Gabby Bernstein out there. My voice sucks.
Yep. So good.
So good. Number 6, we're moving on. No, wait, 5. My bad. 5, I'm alive. This brings me to number 5, being too serious.
See? That's awesome.
Being too serious. It can be serious, right? Building a business is serious, but also building an offer does not have to be. And I think we all put so much pressure. And I think this one is a big blocker because there's all this pressure. And especially if you've kind of been in the game and buying other courses and watching other mentors and all that, there's this expectation of perfection of this offer that has to be this like big thing. And it doesn't. And I actually had a friend who just went through an affiliate launch without a sales page. She just had her link. Just it, just a link. And that's how I put my business together when I first started it too. I had nothing other than like a few very, very long hyperlinks to people to pay me. Not even a pretty link. I was like, what's a pretty link? How do you make this shorter? Because truthfully, it doesn't matter how someone's going to pay you. They could send you a check in the mail for all that we know. They could give you cash in an envelope under your door. Like, if you have no offer, they have no way to pay you. So how do you keep it fun in your business without making like these offers so serious? I'm going to start with Heather. I'm going to mix it up because we're at number 5 and we're alive and we're mixing it up.
Gosh, see, you put me on the spot. Now
Yes,
I'm
I
like,
did.
I'm frozen.
Freeze.
So here's the thing. Going back to what you were saying, when I first started my business, I started with the MailChimp landing page. This was before MailChimp actually had landing pages. I figured out how to hack MailChimp to make a quote unquote landing page. Yes. I'm not tech oriented. However, I couldn't even tell you. And I had a PayPal link. Okay. And that's how I sold my first program that people were able to figure out how to file their taxes, and they'd been sitting on it for months and months and months. So I made an impact by like a PayPal link. So really that's as simple as it needs to be. And going back to like, people are hurting in the world. Do you really think that they care that much about, all the things that you're so concerned about? They want your help. And so at the end of the day, you just really have to figure out what makes it fun for you. And go do that, because what makes it fun for me is going to make it fun for my team, for my people, for whoever's taking my program. And so that's really what you have to like start with, is ask, okay, well, what is easy for me? Because here's the thing too. So here it links back to the money thing, is that we think that it's got to be hard to make money. And it's that underlying belief every single time, every day of the week, is that it's got to be hard, and we have to work a lot of hours, and we have to put so much stinking time into it, and we got to make all the tweaks and all the twerks to our landing pages. And here's the thing, it doesn't got to be hard. However, you can easily get it out to your people. That's all you need. And more people will probably buy because of it.
I love that. So this one actually did come up in the mastermind today. And, as we were talking, it was like, somebody was like, well, I thought that I had to have like a freebie and all these things in place before I could put out an offer. And I was like, huh? What? No. Like, yes, those things are wonderful. And those things can help you build momentum. And it's wonderful to offer free things to warm people up, warm up your audience, or whatever it is. But you do not have to have any of that in place in order to be putting out an offer. And then the other thing is really getting a little woo with it. Really, all of the stuff that you want based on let's say you put out your offer. The reason that you put out your offer is because you want to help people, and you want to make money, and you want to make an impact, and all of those things. And those things are up here on this frequency, like up higher. Those are higher frequencies. And when we get too serious, when we get too bunched up about, well, it has to be this way, and I can't do it without this, and it has to look like this, and we get all bunched up, that's not the frequency of impact and ease and flow and helping. That's much, much lower. That's a little down here. And so when we get all bunched up about it, you're literally just energetically not coming to that frequency in alignment with where you want to be. And so guess what does bring you up to that frequency? Fun. fun and joy and all of those things. So it's like, again, we want the business stuff because we want joy and happiness and again, making that impact and ease and flow. But if we're not already doing it that way, it's just going to continue to hold us apart from the things that we want. So how can you just take a deep breath,
Right.
and just bring some fun and lightness to every part of what you do? And like Heather said, just allow it to be easy, right? We're the one making the choice to make it really hard and frustrating and throw our computer across the room. Like,
Yep.
it doesn't have to be like that. We can make that choice.
And I always like to joke when I first started that I was too stupid to know any better. Like, I was very new to online business and I didn't like invest in a bunch of courses. I was just like, so I made a link and you can pay me now. Like, that was like really it. And it's great. I love to remind my current students, like, where I was, like, don't compare yourself to where I am. This is a long road. But I held a belief that well, I didn't help it at the time. I later developed it once I learned better, that I had to look more professional, right? I had to wear like a nice shirt and like have my hair and makeup done to be professional for people to want to buy. So these are stories that we tell ourselves that also stop us from putting offers out there, because I don't have the photos and I don't have the right hair and like I haven't lost the weight yet. Like all this crap that has nothing to do with helping somebody else.
Yep.
And I love this concept of detachment so that you can go to that frequency, because that's all it's about. Because no matter if you have a quick offer or it's an extended, like it's going to be out for a while, your energy is ebbing and flowing. And if you're stuck in that fear and that worry, and you're so attached to the outcome, and you are bringing your frequency down. I actually did a whole podcast series on Intuition Week from May of this year, before, big, middle, and end, so that you could hear when I was in that like whoa place. And what I did to shift my energy was I drove my son's, spoiler alert, four-wheeler toy car four-wheeler outside, and we just rode around the yard like laughing and like driving after the ducks, and it was like hysterical. And I'm like, this is what it's all about. Like, this is it.
So you didn't, to tweak your energy, you didn't spend 4 more hours on your sales page. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, truth. Honest.
You went and had fun?
That's it. That was my big, crazy strategy. That was it. And that's what I tell people is like, get outside, stop working so hard, go have fun, go dance, put some music on, like just change it all around and let go. Because it has to be fun. And that personality that you both were hitting on too is like, that's what people want. They want the messy,
Yes.
they want the imperfect, they want the typo here and there. They want like, and look, I'm not saying you guys get what I'm trying to say. Like you shouldn't have typos, and people do point them out for me. But it's not like the be all end all. But it is having fun and that frequency of fun. I love that. Number 6, which brings us to alignment. Right? So we talk about alignment all the time. Alignment is, simply put, it's ease, it's flow. It like things are just clicking, they're working. You're being pulled in that direction. It's like, oh, it's so good. It feels so light. When you're out of alignment, it feels heavy. It feels hard. It feels dramatic. And there's worry and there's anxiety. You see the drastic difference, right? So we're so used to functioning in fear. We're so used to functioning out of alignment that when we get into alignment, we're like, something's wrong. It's just too easy, right? So we sabotage. But actually what me, Sara, and Heather are doing is helping you to get comfortable with what we call your new normal. This is your new normal. It is this easy. It is this fun. You get to be this express because this is your new normal. This is alignment and like making friends with that place. So, I'm gonna stop blabbing because I could talk forever about alignment. But alignment, we kind of hit on the last one too, is like having fun. So what does alignment mean for each of you? And Heather, I'm going back to you. Let's do this. We're just like, we're reversing it.
So the first thing that came up for me as you were talking is about, you have to like feel the things now. So we always think that, when we get the big salary, or when we have our business at this place, or when we have the landing page, or whatever it is, that we are going to feel this way we're gonna, whatever it is. So we feel like there's always that contingency that's held on our happiness, that's always held on that ease and flow. And so here's the message that I want to give to all of you, is that you have to create space to have that for yourself now, before you have the landing page, before you have the business, before you have the money, before all of those things, so that as you grow, as you basically ease into this, that it does become easy for you. And that is how you know you're in alignment, because you start to feel that way now, and you start to set your life up so that you're happy now. Because I will tell you, time and time again, it's not the money. Like, you think, oh, when I have the money, when I have the business, it's going to be this way. And it's not. You have to create that space of happiness, ease and flow and love in your life and your business now, because once you get there to that place, it's going to feel that much better.
I have nothing to add to that except 2 questions. I mean, she just nailed it. So there's nothing really to add, but 2 questions for everyone to ask themselves. And that is, what if my life is supposed to be fun? And what if my true life purpose is actually to find happiness, to be happy? Joseph Campbell says to follow your bliss. What if that was actually your life purpose? To follow what makes you happy, what lights you up. That's alignment.
Mm-hmm. It's so true when you think about it. This is what's so fun about doing spiritual work with all of you and by myself, is that we are always inundated with these like spiritual quotes and these memes. We see this all the time. Follow your bliss. Okay. Follow your bliss was always like, yeah, follow your bliss. Great. But the more that you actually get into the depth of it, it is completely about alignment. Because what did I just say? What is alignment? It's joy, it's ease, it's fun. That's bliss. Bliss. If we can just only say hell yes to the things that are lighting us up, the other things do fall down by the wayside. And we become the conscious co-creator of our life. We go, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm making. And to Heather's point, it's like, now, this is all we have is now.
Just literally it right now and right now and right now. So beautiful.
It's so magical. It's so good. And number 7, no clarity. People. I used to have people come to me and to say, like, I just need more clarity on what my offer is. And my friend, Suze Ferraro, she said something really profound on like a podcast or I don't even know where I heard her say it. It was saying, you don't need clarity. You need permission to take action. And so it's almost like, and this is what we work all the time with our ladies. It's like, I think you do know. And so what we do collectively as coaches is we are not imposing our strategies, our thoughts, our opinions on the people in the mastermind, but rather holding the space to let you process. And we're saying, oh, there's a little something over there's a little blind spot. Maybe take a look at that. Let's maybe reevaluate this story. Let's look at this story. Is that true? Okay, let's help you navigate. And we are like torch holders. We are holding the light so that you can walk down the path to make it easier, but we're also helping you to find your footing yourself. And so do you need permission? You need clarity, really? You have no idea what you possibly are doing here, right? You have some idea. There's some whispers, because even at the very early stages for me, when I was in massage school and they're like, okay, envision what you want to work, what you're going to do. And everyone was like, this is what my brick and mortar office is going to look like. And I was like, I see my name in lights. I think I did the project wrong. And it was like, wait a minute. Like, I always knew, I always had this vision. I always had this calling inside of me to do something and be something more. I didn't always know exactly how that was going to look or what I was going to be doing, but I just kept following breadcrumbs. And I'm saying this is because we kind of are looking for someone to be like, oh, that's a good idea. Go do that. to give us permission to proceed forward, because we're so busy doubting ourselves, worrying if it's like all like see numbers 1 through 6. And so we have to give ourselves that permission to say, well, what if I already knew? And Heather and Sara are like masterful at busting those stories when they come up with the mastermind ladies too, of like, well, is that true? And just shifting the mindset around the stories that we are telling ourselves and believing.
Yeah, we had a whole conversation a couple weeks ago about I don't know. And so that was really what I challenged my group of ladies to say, okay, so number one, you need to get rid of the language of I don't know. Like you literally need to just remove it from your language, because we do have the tendency to say, it's kind of like I don't have the money, right? So it's like, something comes up and then the immediate thought or the immediate thing out of your mouth is, I don't have the money. Okay, well, you need to get rid of the language. And then you have an idea, oh, I don't know. So first of all, you need to remove that language. And secondly is, yes, you do know. You always know, like that's where your intuition comes in. Like you have to, what is that like little tiny glimmer of light? And the other thing that I will say about clarity is not going to just come and beat you over the head. Okay. It's just not. Let's just be real. You have to go out and do the things to get the clarity. Okay. It doesn't come first. You have to actually open the door, put your toe out, and then take another step and another step and another step, because that's how you gain clarity, is by doing the things. You don't know what your audience really needs until you go out and talk to them. You don't know if this program is really going to be super impactful because you haven't offered it yet. You haven't done the thing yet. So go out and do the thing, and then the clarity will come. And stop saying, I don't know. So that's what I got for you.
I love it.
No, it is exactly right. And I don't have a whole lot to add on to that either. This is why you let me go first. Heather always takes all the good stuff. I'm just kidding.
What the heck, man?
I'm kidding. But I agree. And so really, maybe you feel like you don't know. So then it's like she's saying, you do know. So let's just change it to some part of you does know. Some part of you does know. So to me, clarity comes from two places: silence and action, like she said.
Yes.
Sometimes you do have to sit with it for a minute and get quiet and go within, right? Like she was saying, like Heather was saying, this is where intuition comes in. So sometimes you do need to sit with it. But you don't need to sit with it for 2 months or 2 years or an entire lifetime. At some point, to gain the clarity that you want, you have to go do it. So I'm not saying anything profound that Heather didn't say, but I'm just going to reiterate. Yes, sit with it, get quiet, and then go do something and get into action in some kind of way, even if it is a little step, to get that data and feedback. And as Emily said, then see 1 through 6.
I will call you out on a word that I love that you just said, which was sit with it. Because a lot of times we hear people will say, I need to think about it. And we get into the loop, the I don't know loop. And it's like, I'm going from I don't know to I'll think about it. It's the same freaking loop, people. It's the same dirty, disgusting loop. So I'm going to think about it. Does not do anything, because your thoughts are not getting you to where you need to be. You need to sit. And what Sarah's saying is getting quiet, silent, is to actually pull it into your whole body, a full body response, integration, opening up the intuition, opening up for the universe to answer you through a freaking bluebird and, a squirrel, right? Like we are opening up for all of nature and the universe to give us the answer and the clarity. And that doesn't always get to be rushed. And one thing that I love to do is sit with it, because I get inspired every freaking day. It was like a new business idea and a new direction and a new idea, like constantly. There's no lack of ideas in my world, but not all of them are winning, or they don't all fit. They're not all resonant. And so time in sitting is what gives that clarity. If it's a hell yes, like this literally won't leave me alone. I can't not do it. I have to do this. but getting on the field, that both of them said, is like, you got to get on the field. You can't play the game if you're sitting in the sidelines. And I see this so often of like, okay, so now I have a new idea for a one-on-one, and they're like, toe is about to hit the dirt. And they're like, but you know what? I could also do a group program. So let me just sit down. I'm going to think about that. And then I'm going to do the group program. And then they put their toe out. They're like, you know what I could do? As I could maybe do both of them, where it's like a hybrid, and it's like, shut up with the inspiration and just get out there. And you're like as a coach, you're like, literally, I am going to stand behind you. You can't come back on the stands. You can't do this. You have to get on the field. So it is. I love that. 2 steps: silence and action. I hope that this really hits home with the listeners. And if nothing else, you can hear that we too have gone through it. You're not alone. You're not a little island that's only experiencing fear and worry of judgment and making all this too hard and not having clarity. You're not doing it on your own. This is something that you go through as you evolve and as you grow and as you get challenged to do something more than what you're doing. So I want to say a special congratulations, and I want to celebrate all of you for listening to this whole episode. If 1 or 2 or all 7 of these resonating with you, that means that you're doing it right. And that means that you're putting in the effort to become a better person today than you were yesterday. So I applaud you and I appreciate you for being here. And I will also make an invitation that if the work that me and Sara and Heather are doing here on this podcast was resonating with you, and you're like, oh, I would like some more of that in my life, can you please go on? We would love to have you consider the mastermind. It is application only. We start the first week in January. So like fresh year, fresh energy, super excited. I will say that we've already received a number of applications and a number of spots are filled. However, I do know that if this is resonating with you, it's resonating for the right reason. And if you feel drawn to check it out, you can find more information at emilyaarons.com/mastermind. You can also check out our live coaching so you can get some of the goodies for yourself and see us at how we work. And the other thing is that it doesn't cost anything to apply. So if you feel really drawn to the program, really drawn to apply, but you're really not sure where the money's going to come from or whatever the other loops and objections you have, just like do it anyways. Like Sara said, number 1, just do it anyways, and it will get sorted out. And maybe you apply and it's just not the right time. That's totally okay. But it doesn't cost you anything. And the person that you need to be, the type of person who we say yes to in the program, just like spoiler alert, the people who we say yes to, and by the way, you'll have a one-on-one interview with me. So like, that's cool. We get to talk for 20 minutes. People who don't just show up to get, but people who show up to give. People who show up to be vulnerable, open, and coachable. People who see their limitations and their triggers as a good thing. People who like to work with other people in a group environment, of course. And then people who are not afraid of being challenged and stretched a little bit. And of course, as you probably picked up on, this is a very spiritual community. People who are into woo-woo stuff and crystals and psychics and astrology and Akashic records and past lives. Like, if that doesn't like float your boat and get you all jazzed up and excited right this second, then like you probably have no reason to be even listening to me in another podcast episode. But if it does light you up and you're excited to hear more about witchy things and female empowerment and healing our stress and our trauma from past lives, I would definitely recommend you check out some more because there's something here for you. So anyways, this is my open invitation for you to take that next step with us. And thank you for listening to the episode. Please let us know, tag us in your Instagram stories if any of this resonated with you. Maybe if it's all 7 or if it was like number 1 and number 4, whatever it was, tag us in your Instagram stories. In the show notes, you'll find all of our social handles, and you can find Sara and Heather at Sara Drury, and Heather, you're at Heather Doran, correct?
Yeah, I'm heatherdoran.biz.
Okay, great. That's how you find us. So make sure you look us up on social. If you don't already follow these wonderful women on social, please make sure you do so. Their links are also below. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you, ladies, for an amazing, powerful episode. I love you guys.
Thank you for having us. This is awesome.
Thank you.